Hi everybody, my name is Ron. I'm sending from the pre-winter Denmark, Copenhagen. I really hope that you will get used to my very heavy Israeli accent. Believe me, it could be much worse than that. Before I start to go to the main subject, the main talk today, I will like to say something about where I get the things from. So, of course, like anybody else, I depended one way or another on the media. I'm listening. I'm very skeptic about the main media. Uh, most of us, we know who control the main media. That's why, of course, I am trying to get some of the information from some alternative media. It's not always easy to know what is true, what is wrong, and you really have to make hard work for cleaning the misinformation, disinformation, and pick up the things that are true or probably true. In the same time, beside building my theory, my ideas on the main media, I using my connection to the astral, and in that case I will say that I don't call it clairvoyant. I must say that nobody present himself with a name as a person, as a group, and I never asked where is the sources of the information. I think that is more important that the information that you get from there, it seems like it's real, instead of that you have to know a particular name. I think that when you looking for names and groups and so on, you getting into kind of terminology that been used before, and you start to use the same words like anybody else, and then in the end you find yourself somehow repeating things without the possibility to be authentic and coming with your own material. I get this information from the astral, from the Akashian list, if you wish, and then I collect all these things to picture that gives sense. And this is the picture I want to give you today from another point of view. I want to collect the things and put them on the table in a different way, in a time when we have a great confusion, when we hear so many things and there's so many ideas about what's going on with our world these days, and what's happened actually in this very, very intensive and very interesting, very challenging time of history. Please take it as a theory. Probably can be wrong in the few things. This is normal. I will never say that everything that I bring here is 100% the way it is, but I think that the picture that I will bring you in this video is at least showing something and give you a lot of stuff to think, and I wish you will use it, enjoy it, and so on. So let's go on. A few days ago, the head of the Israeli space program, the former head of the Israeli space program, throw a bomb and say to the Israeli newspaper Yediot Achronot that certainly we are not alone in the universe. And he basically say a few things that each of these things are supposed to make kind of what shall I call sensation or something, but I think somehow the things went and like before it went and fold between the chairs. Probably someone don't like this kind of publishing, and immediately they make fun of him and related to his age. He's 81 years old. Basically what he say that there is some aliens that are visiting Earth here and there. They have a contract with the American and with Israelis, and in the same times he mentioned that they have a base in Mars, on the deepest of Mars. When there is in Mars at that moment, there is some Americans and only Americans astronauts that working together. He also mentioned that President Trump know about it and was about to talk about it, but he get the advice not to do it yet because of we are some human not ready to hear this kind of news. This basically what he say, and he add few more things, but this is the main things that he say, and he's not the only one. And if you listen, watching around, you can see there is kind of tendency to speak more and more about this phenomenon of a UFO, of aliens, of another entity, and it's just getting more and more that you have to ask yourself, what is the reason exactly now on that time? We always speak about aliens, we always was fascinated by this idea. It's not the first time, but the feeling is that is kind of, it's getting more and more in these days. And you can ask yourself, what is the reason for talking about it in a time when we are actually busy with other great things like the virus and the election with all the problem that follow it, and so on and so on. So what is the urgent exactly now to speak about the visit and about the existence of other creature in the universe? So it must be a reason, and I will try to, during this video, to put it in place. And why exactly now we're talking about it? Is it other creature, and when they will show up? I think that is we need to put the things in kind of proportion and collect the puzzles from different places. That's why I will jump a bit from subject to subject, but I hope that in the end it will give sense when we put all the part of the puzzles to one big picture. So please forgive me if I'm jumping from subject to subject. It will give sense during this video. One of the hottest subjects these days is the social media, and we know that is a big problem about it. There's the influence of the social media, the way they're doing things. It's waking a big questions mark, and different countries try to deal with it. We used to think that the social media is instrument, economical instrument that giving a big profit because they know what is our needs, and then they can design the products, they can direct us to some different kind of products, and in that way they can collect a lot of money. This is true. We also know that the social media have another part, another rule, and this is to design the public meaning about different things. We know that the social media play rules in different places for the negative and for the positive, like in Egypt and other places, when they use the social media to make facts and change things. These two things are clear, and I think everybody know about it. But I think that most of the people don't even know how deep it's going. I doubt how much a person like Mark Zuckerberg have control about his own baby, about his own products. I will try to be careful and will say that I put a big questions about how much he's in control on his own products. I'm sure that he's making the money, but I have great suspicions that he's not on top, and he's not the only one that decide what Facebook have been used for. Anton Chekhov say that if there is a pistol in the first scene, there will be shooting, absolutely shooting in the last one. And this is very much the situations. If the opportunity to gain power, money, and so other things exist, someone will use this opportunity. This is no doubt. And the questions is only the ability and the time. And it will happen. There is many social media, and if you combine them together with other elements in the cyber worlds, you have totally control, not about what people like to buy. You have total control about every aspect of their life. And when you connect all the things together with other sources of information beside the social media, your control is every aspect of the person's life and so on. You may think that the most important for a company like that is to know what is our shopping habits, that you can push us products. Yes, that's true, this part of it, but this is not the main part. The main part is to know where is your position in the pyramids of influence. In other words, how much power you have, how much you influence other people who listen to you. This is the place where the algorithm of Facebook and other social media coming in place, and by pushing one button you can suck this information and you can point clearly who is have the influence. You can mark him, and from there you can use the imagination, and all depends in which hand this instrument and all the other instruments that are connecting together to one big artificial intelligent. You can imagine that how far it's go and how broad is the possibility and what you can do with this type of information by creating the right algorithm and use it to your purpose. Depend where you are, who you are, what is your purpose. In other words, if you belong to the more light side of the existence or more dark sides of the existence, both of them exist. And this video actually try to tell about the struggle between these two elements of darkness, you can say, or more light elements. And these two are in our worlds that are based on duality, at least on this level, are struggle each other to get the power and the control. I think that most of us will accept the facts that we are as humanity and people on earth are somehow divine by two great power. If I make it simple, you can call it good and evil, light and dark, but I think it's too simple to describe it like that, in a way that, for example, the Zoroastrian religion, when they are talking about the good fighting against the bad, the good God fighting against the bad God, and so on, this is a bit simple, but I will say that instead of divide sharp to good and bad, because these things exist in all of us, it's more easy to divide it to different kind of systems of existence. We are, as a human being, are brought here to the earth one or another to we have a mission, and the mission is simple: to experience the world through the material, through the body, and getting better and better, and study from what's happened, from the occasions and so on, and by the time develop our existence to the level of the one that creates us. So we are going in that direction. The same process probably happen in every society on the universe, but doesn't mean that everybody going directly the same way. We are probably different in our emotions, in our bodies, our mental and our abilities. But the direction is always going to develop ourselves and go further and further. And some way on the way, on the process, the road are split, and then we are going to different directions. And in that way, we are probably create many different kinds of human beings, aliens or whatever, according to the process that everybody went through the time. Some of them are much older than us. Other will born with the time that is not exist actually. So as human beings with our potential, we have the potential to develop in a direction of light and equality and beauty and so on, but we have another possibility to develop to more hardcore existence with I will not say unbeauty or bad, but the other side of the light existence, of the way of the light, is not necessary to go in the way of the darkness. It's part of it. But it's more to go in the way of rules and borders and limitation, and all of it for the purpose of gaining power and control. So in one side we have the struggle for power, control, limitations, and so on. And in the other sides we have the struggle for light, for beauty, for equality, and so on. And this is very clear that we are divided which direction we choose. Of course, many of us moving in between, all of us have dark sides and good sides and so on, but the process is going to direction. Actually, this process it's happening now, and it's will come and coming these days to a place when you cannot actually exist together in the same area, in the same planet. The difference between the people that wish to see a light life and the people that are sticking to the old system of control and power gain and so on, the difference is so great that at some point you cannot live together. One of the sides have to give up and living under the authority of the other side, or that our reality will split to two reality, which bring me to the concepts of dimensions and of the concept of humanity moving through the fifth dimension, and by that leave behind the known world, the massive known world as we know it today, a world that apparently going through situation with much more control and situation when our freedom are disappeared, a world that based on technocratia, where the artificial intelligence will drive our life, and unfortunately we will be kind of a mix between human and robots without free willing. So from here we're coming to the idea that kind of split needed, and we need to live everybody in his according to his development and where he is in his life in a world that based on equality, light, and empathy, and so on. You don't need all these millions of cameras and so on that are observing every movement that we do by the name of keeping the law. It's long time ago doesn't deal with how we are obey the law, it's lost this meaning. The amount of cameras and other equipment that follow us minute by minute, second by second, has nothing to do any longer with the idea of keeping the criminals out of action. The meaning is to keep us, all of us, under control in one way or another. It's very sad, but this is the reality, and all the signs showing that this will be worst. So if I have to conclude this part of the video, I will say that we are, as human, we are clearly in a kind of a cross way when we have to decide which direction we want to go, and according to that somehow decide that our destiny as a private person and as a society. This is unavoidable, and we're going and deep into the different two ways, and one way that lead us to the light things, more light, and the other way that will lead us to the more dark side of the existence. Other entities in the universe have made the same process. They also make a choice, and that's the way they build their own society, with their own rules. It doesn't to do necessarily with their development, the technological development, and so on. But the result is that they have a system of ruling and system of existence that built by their by the wish, by the way that they went, by the choice they made, and so on. And you can look at that like that we will be adapted by one entity that fit to the way that we choose, that we are. If you are choose to live in a light principle and so on, so you will be adapted by an entity that is based on light and so on. If you choose the more dark, the more control and so on, you will probably being chosen by the entity that are living to the same principles. As a principle, all these entities, all these aliens or whatever you want to call it, they of course they know about its existence. They will, until now they didn't mix because of it's against the principle of the cosmos. It's breaking the law of cosmos, and the law that as I say before, that made us to build ourselves from the experience and not by involvement from the outside. It's breaking everything, and according to the butterfly concept, if you know that, a little bit changing of one place can create a great changing other place, and then that way any mixing in our life by aliens can change all the picture completely. So the principle is that until now there was no mixing. There is some rumors that saying that they did mixed here or there to avoid, for example, nuclear disaster. I don't know, it's possible, but right now it's the time that they are showing themselves, and the time where the world will split to one world that will live still in the three dimension, the material dimension, with all what is included, and another entity, another human being that will move gradually to the fifth dimension, and these two dimensions have nothing to do with each other, and this will be one or another the end of the humanity as we know it. I did talk about two different of systems of existence, systems of control, and I can in a rough way can describe it as a system that build on the shape of the triangle of a pyramid, and another system that build on the shape of a circle and of a sphere. These two geometrical shapes are actually a good example to the two different systems of existence. The third dimension, the one we're living now, the way we design it, is built on the shape of triangle or shape of pyramid. That's why we have the pyramid in Egypt. That's why we have the symbols of the American dollar and all these things that you already hear before. And the other system, the system that are built of light, it's built on the shape of a sphere, on a ball sphere. And in a shape of sphere, the circulation of energy is, as you know, like yin and yang. It's going around. On the other hand, in the shape of pyramid, the energy is going from the bottom of the pyramid to the top of the pyramid, and that way it's draining the bottom and enriching the top until the bottom cannot bear it anymore. So for keeping this kind of system, the pyramid system, you need to impose many rules to keep it in place. Otherwise, if the bottom will disappear or break or fall down, all the pyramid will collapse. So you have to one way or another to build the bottom, strong bottom, by control and by develop kind of system of hierarchy that will take care about all the levels that lying under. So it's built levels under levels, which each level getting a little bit piece of the cake, and you high, your piece of your cake is getting bigger, and in the end of the pyramid is the cherry. But as a principle, you will not able to come down from the bottom of the pyramid to the top. The top of the pyramid is observed and be kept to very small group of people. You can maybe climb, but you will climb until certain limit, and you will climb on the condition that other people will be oppressed and stay down. This is the price of climbing. This is in the system of the pyramid. The system of the circle is the system of the fifth dimension. It's a system that everything go back to the source, that you giving back what you get, and the energy is circulate around in a way that nobody miss anything. This is the fifth dimension. Another big point regarding the different dimensions and the moving to the fifth dimensions is the way of communication. In the third dimension, the communications are known is the technology that we know, the internet and so on. And this way or form of communication and technology is 100% under control of the people that are living and want to continue the third dimension. We have no way that we can, as people that searching for the light, that we can take over, not without help from the outside. It's too late. It belongs to them. The fourth dimension is the communication that happen between me and you. Not now, because now it's going through the net. But if I meet you in person and we look eyes by eyes, we can communicate it with each other almost, and I say almost, without interfering of third side. I say almost because also this type of communications are under the manipulation and the control of the people that want to keep the third dimension, that living here, the controlling the world, the pyramid people, you can say. The communication in the fourth dimension is not so tight yet as the communication in the third dimension, that is, as I say, under full control. But still it's getting worse, because also the space between us is have been controlled and been limited, and you can see it around you that someone tried to keep us in different corners and not come together, among other for avoiding the communication in the fourth dimension. if you're going to class and study and the teacher teach you, he teach you by using communication from the fourth dimension. He's standing on the class and teach you, and you have eyes contact and you have space, and this is the way. But if he teach you through Zoom or through other program, he teach you with the instrument of the third dimension, and by that he put himself and the students and all the system of education under the control of the third dimension instrument. As I say, the third and the fourth dimension are under the control of the people, the group, or whatever that are controlling and using this dimension to gain power and more control. The fifth dimension is another story. The fifth dimension is not happen in the space. The physical space is happen on the astral space, and this dimension fortunately are not available for these people. They cannot communicate with the fifth dimension, and they cannot communicate between them in the fifth dimension, ella with us. In the same way they cannot control us in the fifth dimension. It's between us and the fifth dimension and the entity that living in the fifth dimension and other dimension over the fifth dimension. So it's unique for us as a human being that are tied to the light and are obligated to the light to communicate with the fifth dimension. It's a privilege that only kept for us. And this is also Achilles' heel for them, for the people from the third dimension, because they not capable of connecting to this fifth dimension. Because of this handicap, because of this limitation, they will do anything they can to avoid us, the light people, to connect to the fifth dimension. They will do anything and what they can do, which means that they will use the weapons of the third dimension and the fourth dimension for limitate our ability to contact to the fifth dimension. And that's what actually they're doing, and that's why that in certain point the coexistence is impossible. They will do anything to press this ability, which for us is the most important goal, is to move to the fifth dimension, that is dimension of light, dimension of beauty, equality, and so on. And this is the dimension that we are meant to be. As I say, this is the dividing process that we are experience, and this is the divining process that come to a kind of top and accelerated. Right on these days, it's getting more and more, and into this space of division, we can understand, as I mentioned for the first or the second part, that we hear much more talk about aliens and things out of space. It's in simple language where you can say that our forefathers looking for us to hug us and bring us to the place where we belong. And the people that will choose to stick and to adapt the life, to continue the life of the third dimension, the heavy life with all the things that is contained, as I mentioned before, no need to repeat it, will get their choice fulfilled. They will be magnetized to the third dimension, and they will live under the rules of the third dimension. Well, in this video I described the process of the splitting to two kinds of society, and I describe and tell that many things that we experience these days has to do with what waiting for us. I am talking to you through the measures and the instruments and the technology of the third dimension, and I'm limited by this technology, what I can say. But you are not limited, your brain and your existence are not limited to use your imagination and other instruments to understand what I'm talking about, even if I don't mention the words that I really like to mention, but I don't. You know what is it that going around. You know what is the different things regarding the epidemic or pandemic, and you know that many things happen around, many new forms of communication, many new forms of medicine, and I will say it without being considered as a paranoid or so on, that one or another, all of them connect to the things I just told you, and they are here for the develop of this kind of measures and technology, whatever it is, uh, not always, not always for our benefit, is not made for us, not always. I will not say that there is no cases where the development of these measures and technology is not made for the public. Sure, there's a good people that are doing it for this purpose, but in the way it's look and with the acceleration of the process and the speeding of the process, most of this technology and most of this medicine and most of these things, the communication ways and all of it together, are unfortunately have another goal, another purpose. They're not for our best. It's here for keeping the situation, keeping the control, and gain more power. This is the situation. I will stop here, even that I really like to say much more than that. I think that I exposed in this video my thinking, my way of thinking. I'm sure that can give you kind of stuff to think, and you can collect the rest of the pieces of the puzzle and put them on place. You don't need me to feed you with each pieces, among other, because of the fact that my ability to speak to you freely is very limited, and it will be more limited as much as the time go. So my wish and my advice to you, wherever you are, is to use your brain and pick up the pieces and put them on place, that you also have a picture of where we are and where we're going to. And by that I will say also that we should not lose hope. The bottom line is that if you are tied to the light, and this is the way that you want to go, you will come to the light. It's only a question of time. And I believe that we will see great changes in front of us rather soon. And I hope that the price will be reasonable or no price. Thank you very much for follow this video. I will really appreciate if you will put some like down, and even be more happy if you write a comment, if you have questions, and of course if you share it with other people that are together with us in the fantastic journey through the light, peace and harmony. See you to the next video. My name is Ron. I'm sending from Copenhagen. Continue to have a very nice day or evening or whatever. See you.